A warm welcome to you and thank you very much for joining us on the program. Kenya's longest-serving leader, Daniel Arap Moi, goes to rest this Wednesday in Kabarak, northwest of his country's capital, Nairobi, where he would be buried. On Tuesday, yesterday, that is, about 30,000 people packed the stadium in Nairobi for the state funeral. Rather than mourning, many of them in the crowd celebrated Mr. Moi's life. The day had also been declared a holiday by President Uhuru Kenyatta to honor Moi, who dominated Kenyan politics during his 24-year presidency.
Thousands of Kenyans on Tuesday paid their last respects to the country's longest-serving leader, Daniel Arap Moi, as a week of mourning climaxed with a state memorial service. Moi, whose 24-year rule saw Kenya become a one-party state, where critical voices were crushed, died on February 4th, aged 95. Several foreign leaders attended the ceremony, including Djibouti's Ismail Omar Guelleh, Ethiopia's Sahle-Work Zewde, Rwanda's Paul Kagame, and South Sudan's Salva Kiir. President Uhuru Kenyatta and Paul Kagame eulogized the late leader.
In this solemn moment, let us all take comfort in the fact that Daniel Arap Moi leaves behind a towering legacy of good that will transcend the generations.
We will continue to be with you as we all remember this gallant leader, one of the gallant leaders of this great country of Kenya.
Moi, who towered over Kenya between 1978 and 2002, was laid in state for 3 days in Parliament, with tens of thousands of people filing past his remains. On Tuesday morning, he was taken on a gun carriage draped in Kenya's flag through the streets of Nairobi to the Nyayo National Stadium, flanked by soldiers. The body of the late president will be buried in his home village of Kabarak, 220 kilometers northwest of Nairobi on Wednesday, February 12.
And
before I talk about the legacy of former Kenyan President Daniel Arap Moi, a controversial figure in Kenyan political history, here's a quick look at his background. Daniel Arap Moi, a teacher by profession, entered politics in 1955 and was elected as a member of the Legislative Council representing the Rift Valley province. From Minister of Education, he became interim president in 1978 before being confirmed, re-elected and so on from 1983 to 1997, and several things stand out in the collective memory from this trajectory, including the establishment of the single party in 1982 with its share of abuses, hunting down opponents, torture, constitutional tampering, and electoral fraud. He finally accepted the return of the multi-party system in 1991 and was forced to leave his post of office in 2002. Africanews journalist Michael Udwar is here to throw more light on this. Good morning, Michael, and thanks for being with us.
Bonjour, Ruth.
Well, you are Kenyan and your country is currently busy burying its former president, Daniel Arap Moi. Let's talk a little bit about the legacy he left behind for Kenyans and for Africans as a whole.
Michael Odouard, vous êtes Kenyan aujourd'hui. Parlons de cet héritage. Qu'a laissé Daniel Arap Moi aux Kenyans?
Thank you very much, Ruth. And maybe to understand more about Moi, Daniel Arap Moi was the second president of Kenya between 1978 to the year 2002. Moi ruled Kenya, that is an East African nation, in a post-colonial area, and after the death of the Kenya's founding father, Jomo Kenyatta. And normally, unlike his predecessor, Jomo Kenyatta, Moi used to travel a lot in the country, courting his ethnic and tribal groups, and also gaining wide popularity. He introduced free milk for children in school and pledged to do away with endemic graft and elevate Kenya's struggling tourism and agriculture and economy. He won Western support with his anti-communist policies during the Cold War. One very obvious legacy that Moi left was unity in Kenya. He shunned tribalism. We saw him visit all parts of the country without fear of intimidation. Well, defenders of Moi's legacy point to his often repeated line that he kept Kenya peaceful while several African countries were experiencing strife at this time. Ruth.
Well, Kenya, that is for the good point, but many would agree that, many opine that his legacy is one that is very complicated and brutal and should be, in fact, forgotten and not be celebrated.
Thank you, Jerry, for that. But then just a point of correction. Moi never propagated for tribalism during his era. He tried to have a Kenya, a united country and state at that time during his tenure. We saw a peaceful country with almost zero tolerance to violence. Moi's tenure is referred to by many Kenyans as the Nyayo era, a reference to his promise to follow in his predecessor Jomo Kenyatta. And he was true to his words. He utilized the resources of the state to enrich himself with his family and is ruthlessly crushing any opposition that opposed his rule. During his era, we saw a stagnated economic progress by personalizing the state, using government resources to award loyalists and also withdrawing them to punish those who did not toe to the line. For example, roads and factories were seen as a gift to be given and rewarded for communities if their top politicians worked with the ruling party KANU by then. This entrenched a culture of political patronage that has become part of the Kenyan politics. According to the World Bank, the decade and a half between 1985 and the year 2000, which coincided with the years of Moi's rule, gross national income per capita dropped from $450 in 1960 to $380, and this left people really in poverty. Moi also floundered badly on the economy as poverty deepened and corruption flourished. A 2004 report by corporate investigation firm Kroll accused Moi and his inner circle of stealing over $2 billion of state fund, an accusation dismissed at the time by the government. One major scandal on his watch, Anglo leasing, began in the 1990s and involved state contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars being awarded to non-existent firms. Another scam we had Goldenberg led to the loss of at least over $1 billion from the central bank via compensation payments for bogus gold and diamond exports.
A lot, that is.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
ahead.
So, Michael, as a Kenyan, is there anything strong that he did that had an impact on you or that you think still has an impact on Kenya today?
Oh, thank you, Ruth, for that. That's quite a personal question. And one very remarkable thing about Moi era was that he loved children. He loved kids. Whenever he paid a state visit to any region, then it was an absolute holiday. Myself, not just once, but many times, I paraded along the highway to wait for the late president as he passed along for a unknown reason. Of course, we were kids. Maybe it was as a result. We are kids, we couldn't reason that much politically. Maybe it was as a result of the free milk that maybe we used to like him and we were being given back then. That was sort of like a reward that we were being given when we were going to school, free milk. But apart from that, Moi developed a lot of schools and he financed dozens of primary and secondary schools. This also includes tertiary institutions and one major higher learning center, that is Moi University. Personally, I did my journalism degree at Moi University, which is one of the major learning centers in Kenya.
So you are speaking for him, aren't you? Speaking for his legacy. I mean, being an alumni of his university.
Yes, I can say an alumni of one of university he built back then, which is Moi University. It really helped me gain a better education till today. So despite that, we just say may God rest his soul in eternal peace, but we appreciate during his tenure what he did to us and how he used to love the kids, and that's who we are now. Jenny.